it started small. I just bought a new memory. I bought new GPU, and I always told myself, like, it is just for the performance, but deep down I knew it's not for that. It's for the thrill. They always ask me, why do you need this upgrade? Why do you need that? But they just don't get it, do they? It's not about the performance. It's not about the extra cooling. It's about the ritual. I've tried to quit already. I really have, but every time I browse Reddit, every time I browse a website, and I see a new part, a new build, and I can just feel my PC whispering to me, like, oh, you know you want to. And I just can't say no. So I did what any addict would do. After finishing this build, I did realize that I do want to make a few changes to it. First of all, it was an absolute nightmare to fill up, so I want to change that. And secondly, I just didn't really seem to like the look of it. So with that in mind, let's get started.
build finally done, I can say that I'm much happier with this than the previous version, just because the parallel loop just looks so much cleaner when compared to the original series loop. And I do think you will agree as well, judging by the shots that I took. Also, I do believe that the screen is doing a very heavy lifting in it, because I just find a really good spot for it, and honestly just makes the build pop a little bit more. Even though it's a cliche and every build has one now, I still think I could make it a little bit more interesting by making this floating design, by 3D printing a bracket and putting some magnets in it, so that I could attach it to the radiator itself. And I don't think it's the last time you have seen this build, because in all honesty, I do want to still make a few changes. Only one, to be honest, for now, which is upgrading the CPU water block, because even though this current Barrow one is doing the job just fine, don't get me wrong, but still I do believe that I could do better with a new water block. Because the temperatures are just not really there, especially with this parallel loop. Even though the temps are not much higher than the series one, it still is a little bit higher, and I do want to get just a little bit lower. And I do think the alphacool Core 1 water block will do that to me while looking amazing in the build. Additionally, I do have to admit that even though I liked this case a lot when I first got it, I do think that there are nicer looking cases, especially the Fentex Evolve X2. But the downside is that that one doesn't really support 2 radiators, at least not 2 360 radiators like I have. However, I do have some plans on modifying one and see how that goes. So if you're into that kind of stuff, then get subscribed. So, what does the future hold for this channel? In one of my next videos, I will build my 2009 dream PC, one that I could only ever dream of owning back in the day, complete with quad-SLI GTX 295s, Intel i7, 12 gigs of RAM, complete overkill motherboard, a big ass case that barely fits on my table, and just complete utter overkill for the time. Period correct as much as it's possible. And with that, thank you for watching and see you in the next video.